What's up, everybody? Bradley here. I'm on beautiful Mobile Bay. The tide is out because of Hurricane Irma. I wanted to do a quick video. Got an idea to do a flood video because of all this water. So we wanted to give you I'm out here. The only other people out here are News 15. So this is exclusive, what you're getting right now. The 5 tips for flood insurance. I know y'all are sick of me harping on flood insurance, but it's the most popular subject in my office right now. Everybody's asking about it. So the 5 tips you need to know. Number 1 is flood insurance is not covered under a standard homeowner's policy. It is not covered. You have to have a separate flood insurance policy. Number 2 is all flood insurance has a 30-day waiting period unless you're closing on a mortgage. So if you've owned your house for 5 years and you call me or anybody today and you need flood insurance, it's not going to be effective today. So if your house is right here and you're waiting on all this water to come back in here and you buy flood insurance today, you're not covered at all. The 3rd tip is the difference between being in a flood zone and not in a flood zone. The difference is nothing. Everybody is in a flood zone. It's just to what degree are you in a flood zone. So to what degree can your house flood? There's an X flood zone, an AE flood zone, an A flood zone. It's all bad. It can all be flooded. The 4th tip for flood insurance is what is flood? Flood is classified as rising water. So your pipe bursts in your house, that's not considered flooded. That's not considered flood damage. Flood is going to be rising water. The next tip is going to be how to get a flood quote. Typically, if you're in a bad flood zone, such as an AE flood zone, you're going to need what they call an elevation certificate in order to obtain that flood quote. So you have to get a surveyor to come out to your house and survey your base flood elevation along with the average, the height of the house. So the base level of the house versus the base flood elevation is what determines your quote. The further apart those two rates are, the lower the quote. The closer together they are, the higher the quote. An X flood zone, you typically do not need an elevation certificate. So if you're in an X flood zone, which is what a lot of people would classify as not being in a flood zone, you do not need that elevation certificate. You can call me, we can handle that over the phone. Typically it's $300 or $400 a year, $400 or $500 a year. So that's today's 5 flood tips that you need to know if you live in South Alabama here on beautiful Mobile Bay. News 15 is leaving, so I guess that means I'm gonna leave too. Thanks, everybody.